MPLS as a product is fading in the same kind of way that PRIs are fading, as well as SIP, in favor of UCaaS. So, UCaaS is consuming all that PRI and even SIP business. So in the same manner as the MPLS providers really want to hold on to their customers a little longer, if you're able to renegotiate and bring down the costs and related circuit sizes, it actually costs the MPLS provider less because they don't have to allocate that much bandwidth anymore. And in some cases, it's more margin for them because you're able to reduce costs going from, say, 100 meg to 20, but maybe the price per meg is a little higher, but still it's an overall savings to the company. It might actually be a better deal for the MPLS provider as well. So where a lot of the MPLS providers are trying to ride those investments out as long as possible is they're actually going to their customers offering these types of options where they provide them with a dedicated internet connection as an MPLS replacement or as an augmentation with a built-in SD-WAN solution. That's where VeloCloud, that's the reason I believe they've been so successful, because they decided to become sort of the broadsoft of the MPLS space and help those MPLS providers hang on to those customers and that revenue a little while longer, and provide them with an opportunity for continued growth with that customer base. The challenge is, because again, Velo doesn't do security, and no one really thought of this 5 years ago, now security is a much more integral part of these transmissions because of this user dispersion that the SD-WAN industry just didn't think of addressing at the time. So this is now becoming a big problem for the carriers. And in the end, Cato can work with these solutions, but because Cato is separate and distinct from the appliance providers as well as the carriers that try and provide those appliances as managed services, Cato's displacement of those carriers in many cases is a foregone conclusion, where it makes more sense just to have a Cato service as opposed to a carrier bundle. So within the white paper for SASE, Gartner actually states clearly that this architecture represents an existential threat to these carrier bundles where they're trying to hold on to this business for as long as possible. So, and it's very difficult for a carrier to create networking and security solutions to emit from their POPs. A lot of carriers have their own network of POPs, but the architecture is fairly, it's not all their own. A lot of it's Cisco backend or Fortinet backend or Palo Alto backend. So imagine being completely dependent on Palo Alto or Cisco, and then all of a sudden Palo Alto and Cisco rise with a SASE offering to compete directly against you, and you're a big carrier. So we're going to see how this plays out over the coming years. But to your original question, a lot of customers that feel stuck with these older technologies, there are a whole range of different ways to rework those designs so that they can serve the enterprise and elevate agility, reduce risk and attack surface, while still harnessing those investments for as long as they're needed. And in some cases, like we had mentioned, you can retool those MPLS contracts so that you're spending a little less, maybe extending out as long as those services are still relevant and functional.